Chosen one. You are not hearing this message by accident, and you did not arrive at this moment by chance. Before you pressed play, heaven had already marked this second as an appointment with your name on it. What drew you here was not curiosity, it was alignment. Divine timing has converged, and your spirit recognized the signal before your mind could explain it. Anointed. 1. Hear this carefully. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural turning point. What has been forming quietly in the unseen is now pressing toward manifestation. This is not ordinary progress. This is sudden elevation. This is divine wealth transfer. This is heaven releasing understanding, strategy, and favor that has been reserved for you in this season. The Word declares that it is the Lord who gives the power to get wealth, not for pride, not for excess, but to establish covenant purpose on the earth. As it is written in Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 18, the power is given by God, and that power is awakening in you now. Chosen one, this is a sacred moment. What you are about to receive is not hype, not motivation, and not theory. It is ancient wisdom activated for now. Let your heart be still. Let your spirit lean in. What follows will realign how you see wealth, obedience, and destiny, and it will change how you move forward from this day on. Chosen one. As you lean into this moment, I need you to understand something at a level deeper than thought, deeper than emotion, deeper even than desire itself. You are not listening by coincidence. Heaven has drawn you into a spiritual classroom, and what is being unlocked in your spirit right now is the very thing generations before you prayed for, but never lived long enough to see unfold. The ancient paths are opening again, the old wells are stirring again. And the same God who whispered covenant promises to Abraham is whispering something to you in this very hour. Anointed one, you are stepping into a revelation that is not just informational, it is transformational. It carries weight, authority, consequence, and destiny. The kingdom has summoned you to hear this word because the season you are entering demands a different posture, a different obedience, and a different understanding of wealth, purpose, and divine responsibility. When God spoke to his people before they crossed into the promised land, he told them to remember him as the one who gives power to obtain wealth, not for indulgence, not for ego, not for the empty chase of status, but for covenant, the spiritual contract forged between heaven and earth. And chosen one, what many forget, is that covenant is not casual. Covenant is not symbolic. Covenant is not a poetic metaphor. A covenant is binding, costly, weighty, and sacred. It demands loyalty. It demands humility. And it demands the willingness to surrender the illusion of control. I often reflect on the covenant imagery described in the ancient world, the cutting of flesh, the binding of hands, the solemn oath to give one's life if necessary to uphold that promise. When I first learnt about that, it struck me deeply. It anchored something in me. It made me realize that God's commitment to us is not fragile, it is fierce. And if God's covenant is fierce, then so is his intention to equip his people, including you, chosen one, with the resources, influence, and spiritual empowerment necessary to fulfill their assignment on earth. There was a time in my life when I thought wealth was accidental, random, granted to a few lucky individuals who happened to stumble upon an opportunity. But the more I walked with God, the more I studied Scripture, the more I observed how life truly works, the more I realized something profound. God never designed wealth to be chaotic. He designed it to follow principles. He designed it to respond to obedience, wisdom, alignment, and service. The universe is not the source. God is the source. The universe is simply the stage he built. And when I finally began to understand that, my entire life changed. Suddenly, I could see patterns. I could see spiritual laws operating around me. I could see why some people rose and others fell. I could see why certain doors opened while others remained sealed. And it wasn't luck, it was alignment. Chosen. 1. One of the first revelations God gave me about wealth was this: you cannot do God's part, but God will not do your part. And that single truth delivered me from years of frustration and confusion. I used to pray for financial breakthrough, but I wasn't moving my feet. I used to declare abundance, but I wasn't solving problems. I used to shout about prosperity, but I wasn't embracing wisdom. And it wasn't until I understood that divine partnership means mutual participation that things began to shift. Heaven provides the power, but I must provide the action. Heaven provides the strategy, but I must provide the discipline. Heaven provides the opportunity, but I must provide the courage. That realization humbled me. It awakened me. It matured me, and it prepared me for what God was trying to place in my hands. Anointed one, hear me clearly. Wealth is not created by wishing. Wealth is not created by waiting. Wealth is created when you step into the flow of solving problems. People and their problems, that is the pathway God uses to transfer wealth. Before I understood this, I used to look at wealthy individuals and assume they simply had connections or caught a break. But as I observed more closely, I realized something striking. Wealthy people solve more problems than they complain about. Wealthy people focus more on creating value than demanding validation. Wealthy people understand that money is not merely earned, it is attracted by usefulness. And when that truth landed in my spirit, I began to ask God, show me the problems you've assigned me to solve. Chosen one. There is something inside of you, a gift, a skill, a perspective, an expertise, a lived experience that God placed there because someone else needs it. Your ability to perceive, interpret, and resolve someone else's struggle is the very thing heaven intends to use to unlock provision in your life. I remember seasons when I was so consumed with my own difficulties that I couldn't see what God was setting before me. But the moment I shifted my focus from self-preservation to service, doors began to open. Resources appeared. Opportunities multiplied. People sought me out. It wasn't magic, it was obedience. And now, chosen one, heaven is extending that same invitation to you. Lean in. Stay present. Something is about to unfold in your understanding of wealth, purpose, and partnership with God that will alter the way you move from this day forward. Chosen one, as you continue to receive this impartation, I want you to open your heart even wider, because the next dimension of this revelation requires spiritual sensitivity. What God is awakening in your understanding is not merely financial intelligence, but kingdom perception, the ability to see beyond what is visible, to discern opportunity where others see obstacles, and to recognize divine patterns in what appears to be ordinary life. Many never rise into the realm of supernatural provision because they fail to perceive what heaven is placing right in front of them. Perception. Anointed one is a spiritual gift when yielded to God. It is the lens through which you interpret your assignment, your environment, and the people God sends across your path. Before I understood this, I moved through life quickly missing signals, overlooking needs, dismissing opportunities. But when God trained my perception, I began seeing differently. Suddenly, I could sense when someone was wrestling with a problem I was uniquely equipped to solve. I could feel when a room carried the weight of an unspoken need. And I'm telling you, chosen one, when your perception shifts, your provision shifts with it. There is a seriousness in this because many people move through life self-absorbed, unaware of the signals others are giving off. You can often tell when someone is carrying fear, confusion, overwhelm, or frustration, but only if your spiritual antenna is tuned to serve rather than to be served. The Apostle Paul once felt the pull of a Macedonian call, not because someone shouted, but because his spirit perceived a need. And I have lived enough life to know that people everywhere are silently crying for answers. They are not always looking for someone who is the best. They are looking for someone who is present, attentive, compassionate, and willing to solve a real problem. When God began to shift my heart towards service, something profound happened. People started seeking me out. It wasn't because I had suddenly become more impressive. It was because I had become more useful, and usefulness. Chosen One is a magnet for heaven's provision. Let me tell you from personal experience, when you show up with intention, people notice. Years ago, I remember traveling for a speaking engagement and visiting a breakfast spot near my hotel. The servers rotated daily, but one man stood out above all the others. He had a brightness, a presence, a grace in the way he served. He didn't just take orders, he uplifted the entire room. I tipped him more than I normally would, not because of wealth, but because of gratitude. His excellence stirred generosity within me. And later, I realized something powerful. Excellence triggers increase. His presence shifted the atmosphere, and in response, he received more than others doing the same job. That is not coincidence, that is divine principle. Chosen One. Wealth follows excellence the way shadows follow light. When you commit to serving others with unusual attentiveness, you activate a spiritual law. People reward those who make their lives easier, clearer, or lighter. And this is not merely business strategy, it is kingdom alignment. Jesus himself said that the greatest among us is the one who serves. The world trains people to chase significance. The kingdom trains people to become significant through service. When I began focusing on making people's lives better, not just making my life better, the increase came naturally. It came without force. It came without striving. It came without chasing. Increase began chasing me. And let me share another truth that set me free. You will be misunderstood. When you start walking in excellence, when you show up with sincerity, when you devote yourself to solving problems others ignore, some people will assume you're being manipulative. Some will question your motives. Some will even resent your effort. But Chosen One, do not allow the misunderstanding of small minds to stop the movement heaven has begun in you. I had to learn that the hard way. I used to shrink when criticized. I used to retreat when misread. But as God matured me, He taught me not to interpret negativity as feedback from Him. Some people are critical because that is what they know. Some people look for the bad because they cannot see the good in themselves. And if Jesus himself, pure, loving, perfect, was misunderstood, misquoted, doubted, and attacked, why would we expect anything less? Anointed One, do not let criticism silence your calling. Do not let fear quiet your assignment. Do not let the discomfort of being misinterpreted push you out of your purpose. Keep serving, keep solving, keep showing up with integrity. Heaven sees what people cannot. Heaven rewards what people overlook. And heaven opens doors that no human opinion can close. Another revelation the Spirit taught me was this: productivity and proactivity are spiritual disciplines. It is not enough to create solutions, you must also present them. Many gifted people suffer silently in obscurity, not because God has ignored them, but because they have hidden what He placed inside them. When I first started releasing content, I wrestled with insecurity. Would people misunderstand me? Would they criticize my teachings? Would they judge my motives? But then God reminded me, your gift is not yours to bury. Your wisdom is not yours to silence. Your assignment is not yours to hide. And so I began sharing boldly, consistently, and unapologetically, and that simple obedience changed the trajectory of my entire life. Chosen one, you are standing at the same threshold now. This is your moment to stop shrinking. This is your moment to stop waiting for permission. This is your moment to step forward with courage, understanding that heaven has already authorized your assignment. Chosen one. As this word continues to unfold in your spirit, I need you to receive this next revelation with sobriety and expectation. What God is cultivating within you is not a momentary motivation, but a foundational transformation. You are being prepared to handle wealth not as the world defines it, but as heaven assigns it. And the more you understand the spiritual architecture of abundance, the more you will recognize that wealth begins not in your hands, but in your mind, your perception, your discipline, and your alignment with God's principles. When I began studying Scripture deeply, not as literature, but as a divine blueprint for life, I discovered something that shifted my entire understanding. The precepts of God are not theories. They are laws. They govern, increase the way gravity governs movement. And once I aligned myself with those laws, the struggle dissolved, the confusion lifted, and the path in front of me became clear. Anointed one. The word teaches us that God delights in giving wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who walk uprightly. But wisdom is not mere information. Wisdom is divine application. It is the ability to interpret what God is doing and align your actions with His intentions. I walked through seasons where I cried out for breakthrough, not realizing that breakthrough was waiting for obedience. I asked God to supply a harvest while I had not yet planted a seed. I asked Him to open doors I had not walked toward. And through prayer study and humbling experiences, God taught me that supernatural provision flows through natural obedience. Heaven provides strategy, but you must embrace stewardship. Heaven provides opportunity, but you must embrace excellence. Heaven provides insight, but you must embrace discipline. Chosen one. Your prosperity is not a contradiction to holiness. It is a consequence of alignment. For far too long, many believers have been taught to fear wealth, to be suspicious of increase, to assume abundance is corruption rather than covenant. But the more I walked with God, the clearer it became that wealth is not the problem. Disobedience is the problem. Pride is the problem. Forgetting God is the problem. But wealth in its rightful place is a tool of kingdom expansion. It is a resource for assignment. It is evidence that God keeps His promises. And when I finally embraced that truth, I stopped apologizing for the blessings God placed on my life. I realized that shame had no place where obedience had paved the way. As you listen, Anointed One, I want you to reflect on something profound. Everything God put on this earth, every resource, every material, every opportunity was placed here for His people to steward. And yet many of God's children walk in fear, while many who oppose His principles walk in boldness. That should not be so. When I learned that gold, the symbol of wealth itself, was declared good by God in the earliest chapters of creation, something unlocked in my soul. I realized wealth is not evil by nature, it is holy in purpose. Its corruption only arises when it is separated from purpose. And this understanding birthed an unshakable conviction within me. If God declared wealth good, and if I belong to Him, then I must learn to handle what He called good without guilt or hesitation. Chosen one. Heaven is not trying to keep you poor. Heaven is trying to keep you pure. Poverty is not a virtue. Righteousness is a virtue. Lack is not a calling. Stewardship is a calling. And the moment you allow your mindset to shift from fear to faith, from hesitation to expectation, from mere survival to divine stewardship, you will begin noticing opportunities that were hidden from you before, because revelation unlocks perception, and perception reveals provision. This brings me to something God had to teach me personally. Wealth requires maturity. I used to pray for increase, not realizing that increase would expose what I had not yet healed. When God elevates you, everything inside of you is amplified: your discipline, your insecurity, your wisdom, your doubt, your generosity, your pride, your gratitude, your fear. And God, in His love, will often delay provision until you are strong enough internally to manage what He wants to place externally in your hands. I look back on earlier seasons and realize God was protecting me, not withholding from me. He was preparing me, not punishing me. And now when I speak to you, chosen one, I say this with full conviction. If the increase hasn't arrived yet, it's not denial, it's preparation. Anointed. One another truth I discovered is that wealth is sustained not merely by earning, but by practicing the presence and the priorities of God. Jesus taught that when we seek first the kingdom, its order, its values, its righteousness, everything else is added. Not chased, not forced, not manipulated, added. I had to learn that firsthand. I spent years trying to build success through effort alone, only to realize that without alignment, effort becomes exhaustion. But when alignment comes first, effort becomes multiplication. Purpose becomes clarity. Provision becomes natural. Chosen one. The kingdom of God is not mystical. It is practical. It is the rule of God expressed through your obedience, your decisions, your character, and your service. When you yield to God, He gives you authority over your assignment. You become the king of the thing He designed you to manage: your gift, your calling, your business, your skill set. And when you serve people with that assignment, heaven resources you to continue. That is kingdom economics. That is supernatural sustainability. That is divine flow. Anointed one, stay close to this truth, because the deeper we go, the clearer you will see why God positioned you to hear this message at this exact moment of your life. Chosen one. As we continue walking through these sacred revelations, I want you to feel the weight of what heaven is placing on your spirit right now. This is not casual teaching. This is divine equipping. What you're receiving is meant to shift not only your thinking, but the legacy you will leave behind. God is not just preparing you to experience abundance. He is preparing you to steward it, multiply it, and perpetuate it for generations. And this next dimension of revelation is one that many overlook, yet it is one of the most important: the perpetuation of wealth. Not fleeting prosperity, not momentary increase, but the kind of blessing that lives beyond your years, speaks after you're gone, and establishes a spiritual and financial foundation for those who come after you. Anointed one. One of the greatest mistakes I see people make is assuming that wealth is meant to end with them. They think increase exists for their comfort, their convenience, their personal enjoyment. But kingdom wealth is never about indulgence. It is about inheritance. And inheritance is not merely money. It is mindset. It is wisdom. It is systems. It is stewardship. It is the intentional preparation of the next generation. And until you understand that your wealth is not just for you, you will never grasp the full purpose behind the abundance God wants to release into your life. I remember the day this truth hit me. I was reading, studying, praying, and it dawned on me that everything God was teaching me wasn't just for my elevation. It was for my children, and for their children, and for those spiritually assigned to my voice. That realization changed how I approached every financial decision. I stopped thinking about what can I afford today and started thinking, what will my lineage inherit tomorrow? That shift brought clarity, it brought responsibility, it brought structure, and it birthed a deeper sense of purpose within me. Chosen One, heaven is calling you to think generationally. God's principles have always been generational. His promises have always been generational. His covenants have always been generational. So, how could your wealth not be? When Scripture says that a good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children, it is not speaking in metaphor. It is revealing God's original design, that every generation should start further ahead than the one before, that your children should not have to rebuild what you already built, that they should not have to fight the same battles you've defeated, that they should not have to start from scarcity when you were given the opportunity to start from struggle. God's will is not generational lack. God's will is generational increase, and you, Anointed One, are being positioned right now as the turning point in your lineage. I have watched many families repeat the same cycles of financial brokenness, not because they were cursed, but because no one in the family stood up and said, "It stops with me." Someone must choose to become the one who interrupts lack and initiates legacy. Someone must choose to stop living only for today and start preparing for tomorrow. Someone must choose to be the bridge between generational struggle and generational stability. And Chosen One, if you are listening to this message now, it is because heaven has selected you for that assignment. You are the transition point. You are the interruption. You are the one through whom God desires to rewrite the financial trajectory of your entire bloodline. Do not take that lightly. Do not ignore that calling. Do not underestimate what God can build through you when you surrender fully to His principles. Another truth God taught me, and it took me years to learn, is that wealth must be perpetuated through intention. Increase does not continue accidentally. It must be planned, structured, protected, and stewarded. God gives the power, but you must create the plan. I had to learn how to redeem time by paying others to do tasks that drained my energy and stole my focus. At first, I resisted. I thought I was saving money. But in reality, I was wasting time, the very resource God commands us to redeem. When I finally surrendered to that principle, I saw immediate shifts. My mind became clearer. My productivity increased. My creativity expanded. My business grew. I didn't become more spiritual. I became more aligned. Chosen One, your wealth will grow when your priorities shift. Your wealth will multiply when your stewardship elevates. Your wealth will perpetuate when your perspective matures. And the next revelation God taught me is equally important. Wealth continues through instruction. You cannot expect your children or anyone coming after you to steward what they were never taught to manage. Just as God taught you, you must teach them. Through your example, through your daily habits, through your conversations, through your decisions. I trained my children not by handing them money, but by handing them opportunity. I let them work. I let them struggle. I let them learn. Because inheritance without instruction leads to mismanagement, but inheritance with instruction leads to multiplication. Anointed One, your assignment is not just to create wealth. It is to create wisdom. It is to create structure. It is to create legacy. And even now, heaven is enlarging your vision, stretching your understanding, and preparing you for greater responsibility. Chosen one. As you continue to journey through this revelation, I want you to feel the gravity of what heaven is depositing into your spirit. You're not simply learning principles, you're being positioned. You're not merely hearing ideas, something divine is being constructed within you. And in this next dimension, God wants to open your understanding to a truth that transformed my life on every level. Wealth is sustained through system, structure, and strategic stewardship, not through emotion, not through excitement, not through inspiration alone, but through intentional action and the willingness to think generationally even while living daily. Anointed One. One of the greatest shifts in my life came when I realized that income alone does not create wealth. Many people earn money, few people transform money into legacy. Money flows, money moves. Money obeys principles, and the moment you learn how to turn income into assets, everything changes. I had to learn this slowly, painfully, and at times expensively. When I first started earning meaningful income, I assumed that money would grow simply because I was working hard. But money does not grow because you work. Money grows because you steward. Money grows because you multiply. Money grows because you understand assignment. I remember the exact season when God confronted me with this truth. I was exhausted juggling work responsibilities, opportunities, but the more I worked, the more I felt like I was running on a treadmill. I was moving, but I wasn't advancing. God had to show me that earning without investing is like sowing without reaping. You are always expending energy but never experiencing harvest. And so the Spirit began to teach me what I now share with you, that the goal of the wise is not merely to increase active income, but to convert active income into investment income until investment income surpasses the effort of your physical labor. Chosen one. When God gives you the power to get wealth, He does not give you piles of money. He gives you principles that produce money. And one of those principles is understanding the compounding effect of investment. Whether through real estate, through business systems, through intellectual property, or through strategic market investments, God desires that what comes into your hands multiplies. I've lived long enough to know there is no such thing as passive income. What people call passive is actually deferred. It pays later for work done earlier. Even books, people see the sales and think they appear effortlessly. But there is writing, editing, printing, fulfillment, logistics, a system built on the back of a moment of creativity, anointed. One, understand this: wealth is not a moment, wealth is a structure. Wealth is not a blessing you hold, it is a blessing you build. And God wants you to build. He wants you to move from merely doing the work to owning the system. He wants you to shift from trading time for money to establishing streams that outlive the time you can personally give. There came a point in my life when I realized that if I continued doing everything myself, I would never rise into what God intended for me. So I learned to redeem time by paying others to do tasks that consumed me but did not grow me. That wasn't pride, it was alignment. I hired someone to maintain the yard, not because I was too important, but because God had assigned me to bigger things. I hired someone to handle repetitive tasks so I could focus on creative tasks. I began to understand the truth: time saved is capacity gained, and capacity gained is destiny accelerated. Chosen one. You cannot step into divine abundance while clinging to a mindset of scarcity. Scarcity says I can do it all myself. Abundance says I must create room for growth. Scarcity says I can't afford help. Abundance says I can't afford delay. Scarcity says maybe one day. Abundance says God has positioned me today. When you shift from doing everything to delegating purposefully, you begin operating as a steward instead of a struggler. You begin moving like someone assigned, not someone overwhelmed. But the Spirit did not stop there. God began to teach me another truth. The ultimate responsibility of wealth is not accumulation, it is continuation. What good is abundance if it dies with you? What good is prosperity if it evaporates because the next generation was never prepared to carry it? This is why instruction is as important as investment. I had to teach my children not just how to earn, but how to think. Not just how to work, but how to build. Not just how to save, but how to steward. They did not receive money, they received mindset. They received mentorship. They received responsibility. Because wealth without wisdom destroys, but wealth with wisdom multiplies. Anointed One, the Spirit is calling you to rise into maturity. This is the season where you stop living day to day and start building decade to decade. This is where you stop thinking about bills and begin thinking about blueprints. This is where you stop reacting and begin architecting. Heaven is not teaching you these principles so that you can momentarily experience abundance. Heaven is preparing you to birth a legacy. Chosen One, as we continue this divine unveiling, I want you to lean in with even greater focus, because what you're about to receive is not merely information, it is impartation. Heaven is shaping your identity as a kingdom builder, not a kingdom borrower. A carrier of generational blessing, not a victim of generational lack. And in this part of the journey, God wants to awaken you to the truth that wealth is not sustained by emotion or enthusiasm, but by consistency, clarity, and spiritual conviction. Wealth responds to order. Wealth responds to purpose. Wealth responds to management. And when you embrace the order of God, wealth naturally flows toward you because heaven funds what heaven authors. Anointed One, I cannot tell you how many years of my life were spent wishing, hoping, believing without building. I had faith for abundance, but I did not yet have the habits of abundance. I prayed for increase, but I was still operating in the patterns of scarcity. Heaven heard my prayers, but my life had no containers to receive the overflow. And God, in His mercy, had to teach me this: miracles can bless you, but systems sustain you. A miracle can open a door, but discipline keeps the door open. A miracle can clear a debt, but stewardship keeps you free. And this is where many believers get frustrated. They expect God to maintain what He only promised to multiply. Maintenance is your assignment. Multiplication is His. Chosen One, when God taught me this truth, it shook me. I realized that wealth is never the result of one big moment. It is built through daily obedience, through structure, through intentionality, through small decisions made repeatedly with spiritual clarity. God showed me that every financial problem I ever solved started with one shift: how I handled what I already had. Not what I prayed for, not what I hoped for, what was in my hands. And the moment I treated my current resources with respect, greater resources began to appear. Not magically, but orderly. Not instantly, but progressively, because increase follows instruction. And the Spirit continued teaching me something deeper. Wealth doesn't stay where wisdom is absent. Wealth leaves the hands of the unprepared. Wealth avoids the hands of the undisciplined. Wealth grows in the hands of those who honor it. I had to learn not to despise small things, small beginnings, small income streams, small opportunities. Every major breakthrough in my life began with what looked insignificant, a small idea, a small seed, a small door, and every time I treated the small thing like it mattered, God breathed on it. That is how multiplication works. Heaven multiplies what you manage, not what you neglect. Anointed One, you must understand this wealth and wisdom are twins. You cannot separate them. Every time God elevates a person financially, He elevates them mentally first. Your thinking must expand before your resources can. Your discipline must mature before your opportunities do. Your identity must rise before your influence is entrusted. And this is why the enemy attacks your mind more than your money, because if he keeps your thinking small, he automatically keeps your resources limited. But heaven is breaking that limitation off of you right now. You are not being prepared for survival, you are being prepared for stewardship. And stewardship is the birthplace of supernatural increase. Chosen. One another revelation that changed me is understanding that wealth is strengthened through boundaries. Boundaries in spending, boundaries in relationships, boundaries in commitments. I used to say yes to everything, everyone, and every request because I didn't want to disappoint people, but God showed me that without boundaries, blessings leak. Without discernment, resources drain. Without focus, opportunities scatter. And so He taught me to protect the garden of my assignment. Not out of fear, but out of honor. To say no to distractions. To say no to draining relationships. To say no to commitments that pulled me away from purpose. And when I learned to say no strategically, God expanded my capacity dramatically. Then God took me deeper. He showed me that wealth is also preserved through order, not perfection order. Simple things, knowing where resources are going, knowing what is producing fruit and what is draining fruit, tracking progress, understanding patterns. Many people lose what God gives them because they don't measure it. They don't track it. They don't pay attention. But attention is a spiritual law. What you watch over heaven strengthens. What you ignore, heaven lifts its hand from. When I learned to track my income, my spending, my investments, my opportunities, my time, everything began to multiply. Because what you steward multiplies. Anointed One, listen closely. Heaven does not bless confusion. Heaven blesses clarity. Heaven blesses order. Heaven blesses responsibility. And the clearer you become, the more heaven trusts you with. That is why you are being trained. That is why this message found you. God is building you into a person who can carry much, not just temporarily, but generationally. Chosen One. Everything you've walked through has been preparation for what God is about to put in your hands. And as your understanding expands, so does your capacity to receive. Stay open, stay yielded, stay teachable. Heaven is not done with you yet. Chosen One. As we step deeper into this sacred unfolding, I want you to breathe for a moment and recognize what is happening inside you. Your spirit is being recalibrated. Your understanding is being elevated. Your mindset is being rewritten by the hand of God Himself. And in this next dimension, heaven wants to show you something profoundly important. Wealth is not merely something you receive, it is something you become. You become the vessel. You become the steward. You become the distribution center of kingdom resources. And when God transforms you, He transforms everything connected to you. Anointed One. The Lord revealed to me years ago that abundance is not first an external experience. It is an internal identity. Before God placed increase in my hands, He placed increase in my thinking. Before He expanded my resources, He expanded my responsibility. Before He trusted me with more, He trained me through less. And I came to understand that the way you treat the season you're in determines the season you enter next. The wilderness tests the heart. The little tests the discipline, the waiting tests the posture. And the moment you treat a small thing with big faith, heaven opens the next door. Chosen one, I want you to hear this with spiritual clarity. You are not fighting for wealth. You are being shaped for wealth. Every challenge, every lesson, every delay, every uncomfortable season has been crafted to stretch your capacity. There were moments when I prayed, Lord, why hasn't it happened yet? And heaven whispered back, because you're becoming the person who can maintain what you're asking me for. God refuses to place a blessing in the hands of someone whose character cannot carry it. That is mercy, not denial. And when I finally understood this, all my frustration turned into gratitude. I could look back and see that everything God withheld was actually protecting me. Everything He delayed was maturing me. Everything He allowed was strengthening me. Anointed one. What you are experiencing right now, even the discomfort, is shaping your future authority. The enemy is not fighting you because of where you are. He is fighting you because of what you're becoming. He sees the shift. He senses the elevation. He recognizes the awakening happening inside you. And he knows that once your mind truly aligns with kingdom principles, you become unstoppable. Not because of your strength, but because you move in God's system instead of the world's. That is why heaven is teaching you the laws that govern wealth, the principles that activate supernatural multiplication. One of these laws is this: wealth gravitates toward assignment. When you walk in your assignment, you attract the resources required to fulfill it. When you serve according to grace, people seek you out. When you operate in your area of divine gifting, doors open that no resume could produce. I've lived this. I've seen it. Opportunities that I didn't chase began to chase me. Clients I didn't pursue began pursuing me. Divine connections emerged at moments that made no logical sense. Why? Because when you align with calling, provision aligns with you. Chosen one. Heaven funds purpose, not ego, not panic, not desperation. Purpose. And part of maturing financially is learning to discern the difference between opportunity and distraction. Not everything that looks like increase is from God. Some doors are traps, some offers are delays, some connections are assignments from the enemy dressed as blessings. But when your spirit is anchored in obedience, you will feel a divine uneasiness around the wrong opportunity and a divine peace around the right one. And that discernment becomes your shield. Another truth God taught me is this: wealth grows where you grow. Every time I leveled up my discipline, my income followed. Every time I reduced the clutter in my life, clarity expanded. Every time I healed emotionally, financial breakthroughs began to unfold. Why? Because wealth is attracted to stability. Wealth flows toward focus. Wealth multiplies in environments where peace is protected. Chaos repels increase, but order attracts it. And when God brought order to my inner life, He brought order to my outer life. Anointed one, do not underestimate the power of inner alignment. When your internal world stabilizes, your external world begins to reflect it. That's why heaven is dealing not only with your habits, but with your heart. With your thinking, with your emotional patterns, with your relationship with money, with the hidden beliefs that have been shaping your decisions without your awareness. God is rewriting those beliefs. He is breaking generational programming. He is dismantling internal ceilings. Because you cannot step into supernatural wealth with a mindset shaped by scarcity. Chosen one, you are being prepared for more, not just to receive it, but to hold it, to protect it, to multiply it, to pass it on. And the deeper we go, the more heaven will unlock within you. Stay open, stay teachable, stay yielded. Heaven is not finished with you yet. Chosen one. As we step into this next dimension of revelation, I want you to sense the nearness of God's presence even now. What you are receiving is not merely teaching, it is spiritual recalibration. Heaven is not just informing you. Heaven is forming you, transforming you, expanding you. You are being shaped into someone who can carry, protect, and multiply kingdom wealth with conviction, humility, and supernatural clarity. And in this part of the journey, God wants to expose one of the deepest secrets of sustained abundance wealth is spiritual before it is financial. Every breakthrough you see externally is rooted in something God shifts internally. Anointed one, let me speak from experience. There was a season of my life when I thought that mastery of money required intellect, strategy, and opportunity. And while those things matter, I discovered that the true foundation of supernatural wealth is spiritual alignment. When my spirit was unsettled, my finances were unsettled. When my faith was weak, my provision was inconsistent. When my identity was unstable, my resources were unstable. But as God healed my heart, sharpened my discernment, strengthened my discipline, and clarified my identity, everything around me began to shift in response. My opportunities multiplied, my influence expanded, my wealth increased. Not because I learned a new tactic, but because I became a different vessel. Chosen one, hear me clearly, wealth flows to identity. When you think like a steward, you attract stewardship. When you think like a builder, you attract blueprints. When you think like a problem solver, you attract opportunity. When you think like a kingdom ambassador, heaven entrusts you with more. And this is why the enemy's strongest battle is always for your mind. If he can keep you thinking small, he never has to worry about your success. If he can keep you doubting yourself, he never has to fear your influence. If he can keep you distracted, he never has to confront your destiny. But heaven is breaking that cycle in you, chosen one. Your mind is being strengthened. Your perception is being purified. Your confidence is being restored. Anointed one another spiritual law. God taught me, is this wealth requires emotional maturity. This truth changed everything for me. When I was ruled by emotion, fear, pressure, urgency, insecurity, I made decisions that cost me time, money, peace, and progress. Emotion leads to impulse. Impulse leads to loss. But when God stabilized my emotions through prayer, discipline, healing, and surrender, I became a better steward of every blessing He placed in my hands. I learned to respond instead of react. I learned to wait instead of rush. I learned to listen instead of panic, and I watched my finances reflect the transformation happening inside me. Chosen. One, financial elevation requires spiritual regulation. If the enemy cannot stop your gift, he will try to destabilize your emotions. If he cannot block your opportunity, he will attempt to overwhelm your heart. But God is teaching you right now to operate from clarity, not chaos, from stillness, not stress, from wisdom, not worry. This is not just wealth training, this is spiritual training. And then God taught me another truth, one that I wish I had learned years earlier. Wealth demands relational alignment. You cannot rise while surrounded by people who drain you, distract you, diminish you, or disconnect you from God's vision. I had to learn that not every friend can walk with you into destiny. Not every voice deserves access to your decision-making. Not every relationship is covenant. Some are assignments from the enemy designed to limit your growth. And when God began to remove certain people from my life, it hurt at first. But later, I realized that the relationships I lost were the weight that kept my elevation grounded. Anointed. One, hear me. God is cleansing your circle. because He is expanding your influence. He is removing those who cannot honor your future. He is distancing you from those who survived on your old version. He is isolating you only to incubate you. And what feels like loss is actually preparation. What feels like separation is actually preservation. Heaven is creating space for the right partnerships, the right mentors, the right alliances, the right destiny connections. Chosen. One wealth is not built alone. Even Jesus built with 12. Even Moses needed Aaron. Even David needed Jonathan. The next level of your assignment will require collaboration, but not common collaboration. Divine collaboration, strategic alignment, heaven-crafted partnerships. And God is preparing your heart to discern them. He also taught me that wealth requires discipline in ways most people never discuss. Discipline in rest, discipline in boundaries, discipline in focus. I once believed rest was laziness until God showed me that rest is spiritual warfare. Tired minds make poor decisions. Exhausted hearts mismanage blessings. Burnout sabotages destiny. When I learned to rest, my creativity multiplied. My strategies became clearer. Heaven began speaking even more loudly, because rest isn't the absence of movement. Rest is the presence of alignment. Chosen one, everything you are learning in this journey is preparing you for sustainable elevation. You are not being built for a moment, you are being built for a mantle. And the deeper you go, the more heaven will entrust to you. Stay with this. Stay hungry. Stay open. Heaven is taking you somewhere. Chosen one. As we continue walking through this divine impartation, I want you to feel the shift happening in your spirit. You are no longer approaching wealth from the perspective of survival or striving. You're beginning to see it through the eyes of kingdom purpose and divine assignment. And in this next dimension, heaven desires to reveal a truth that many never understand. Wealth multiplies in the lives of those who embrace both vision and vigilance. Vision gives direction. Vigilance gives protection. You cannot sustain what you cannot see ahead of time, and you cannot keep what you refuse to guard. This is where God begins shaping you, not only as a receiver of abundance, but as a protector of destiny. Anointed one. There was a season when I operated with vision, but lacked vigilance. I could see the future God promised me, but I did not protect the process required to reach it. I allowed distractions. I tolerated inconsistency. I entertained conversations that weakened my focus. And while God's promise never changed, my progress slowed because I lacked boundaries. Heaven had to teach me this critical truth: anything significant must be guarded. Dreams must be guarded. Plans must be guarded. Resources must be guarded. Peace must be guarded. And calling must be guarded. When God elevates you, the enemy doesn't always attack through crisis. Often he attacks through subtle erosion, through people who diminish your confidence, through opportunities that pull you sideways, through habits that slowly drain your strength, through emotional triggers that sabotage your momentum. But once I learned to guard my mind, my time, and my environment, my life accelerated in ways I could not have produced on my own. Chosen. 1. Vigilance is not fear, it is faith in the future God showed you. It is the wisdom to recognize that destiny requires discipline. It is the maturity to understand that elevation demands separation. You cannot rise if you refuse to release what pulls you down. And you cannot multiply if you cling to what heaven is asking you to outgrow. When God began pruning my life, removing certain relationships, altering my routines, elevating my standards, it felt uncomfortable at first. But later, I realized the pruning wasn't punishment. It was preparation. God was clearing space for increase. He was removing weight so I could rise. He was protecting me from partnerships that would have sabotaged my purpose. And as soon as I stopped resisting the pruning, I entered the most accelerated season of growth I had ever experienced. Anointed. One another truth heaven revealed to me is this: wealth requires identity security. You cannot steward abundance if you are constantly looking for approval. You cannot walk in authority while shrinking to make others comfortable. You cannot carry a mantle while obsessing over who misunderstands you. I used to waste so much energy trying to explain myself, justify myself, or gain validation from people who were never assigned to understand my calling. But when God healed my identity, the opinions that once crippled me lost their power. I learned that my worth is not determined by the applause of men, but by the assignment of God. And the moment I stepped fully into who God created me to be, doors that were once closed began to open without resistance. Chosen. 1. Hear this clearly. You cannot walk into supernatural wealth while carrying the weight of insecurity. Insecurity will cause you to undervalue your gift, underprice your work, underestimate your abilities, and overstay in environments God is calling you out of. But heaven is breaking insecurity off of you right now. You are being shaped into someone who moves with spiritual confidence, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in calling. Confidence rooted in obedience. Confidence rooted in the certainty that you are chosen for this. And then God took me deeper. He showed me that wealth requires stewardship of energy as much as stewardship of money. I used to believe productivity was about doing more, but God showed me that productivity is about doing what matters. Your energy is a currency. Where you invest it determines your return. When I learned to stop wasting energy on negativity, arguments, comparison, and distractions, I suddenly had capacity to build what God placed in my spirit. Wealth began flowing, not because I worked harder, but because I worked wiser. Because I protected the fire God placed inside me, instead of letting others extinguish it. Anointed One wealth also demands spiritual sensitivity. There were opportunities I almost took simply because they looked profitable, but the Holy Spirit whispered no. Not because the opportunity was bad, but because it was not mine. And there were other opportunities that didn't look logical, didn't look impressive, didn't even look comfortable, yet the Spirit said, "This is the door." And every time I obeyed, multiplication followed. Chosen one. You must learn to follow peace, not pressure. Peace is the compass of the kingdom. Pressure is the voice of the world. When you move by peace, you enter the paths heaven designed uniquely for you. And now, heaven is preparing to reveal something even deeper, a principle that will become a cornerstone for your next season of increase. Stay open, stay present, stay yielded. Chosen one. As we continue this prophetic journey, I want you to recognize how far your spirit has already traveled. You are no longer the person you were at the beginning of this message. Something has expanded, something has awakened, something has broken open inside you. And in this stage of your elevation, God desires to reveal a principle that governs every dimension of abundance. Wealth requires alignment with divine timing, not human timing, not emotional timing, divine timing. Because whenever heaven prepares to release increase, it first prepares the vessel. And if the vessel moves prematurely, it can damage what was meant to bless it. Anointed one. I learned this principle through experience, not theory. I used to rush opportunities, push doors, and force outcomes because I feared missing my moment. I thought acceleration meant action, more effort, more labor, more hustle. But heaven had to reteach me the rhythm of destiny. God showed me that divine timing is not slow. It is strategic. A blessing released out of season becomes a burden. A door opened too early becomes a trap. A platform granted before character is developed becomes a downfall. And so God in His mercy delayed certain things in my life, not to punish me, but to protect me. Not to withhold, but to prepare. Not to frustrate me, but to fortify me. Chosen. One timing is a test. It tests your trust. It tests your posture. It tests your capacity. And when I finally embraced God's timing rather than resisting it, I discovered that divine delay is often disguised acceleration. The season God takes to develop you is the same season He uses to eliminate what would have destroyed you. Elevation without preparation is not blessing, it is sabotage. But you, anointed one, are being prepared with intention. Heaven is shaping you to handle more, and that is why God is aligning your steps in a way that may not make sense to your natural understanding. Yet your spirit knows something significant is forming. Another revelation God taught me is this: divine timing requires divine sensitivity. You must be able to sense when a season has ended, when a door has closed, when an assignment is shifting, when a connection is expiring, when a new opportunity is emerging. I used to cling to seasons longer than I should have, staying where God had already moved on from. And every time I overstayed, I felt drained, confused, and stuck. But when I learned to release, quickly move when prompted, and trust God's leading, even when I lacked details, everything changed. Increase found me faster. Opportunities aligned effortlessly. Provision flowed without strain. Because I was no longer resisting the current of the Spirit, I was flowing with it. Chosen one, hear me: divine timing is not passive waiting. It is active alignment. It means preparing before the door opens. It means positioning before the opportunity arrives. It means practicing before the platform appears. Too many people wait for the blessing to get ready, but the principle of the kingdom is this: those who prepare without evidence are entrusted with evidence others never see. You must build before you are seen. You must sow before you are recognized. You must study before you are celebrated. You must discipline yourself before you are elevated. That is how heaven measures readiness. Anointed one, divine timing also requires pruning. God will remove what cannot go with you. He will silence voices that cannot guide you. He will close doors that cannot sustain you. And although it may feel like loss in the moment, it is actually divine alignment. Everything God subtracts is a step toward what He plans to multiply. When I finally learned to stop grieving what God removed, I began rejoicing over what God was making room for. And that shift broke delay off my life permanently. Another truth: divine timing produces divine clarity. When I stopped forcing my way into places that weren't mine, I started recognizing the doors that were. When I stopped chasing opportunities that looked profitable, I began identifying the ones that were purposeful. When I stopped comparing my journey to others, I saw the unique lane God carved for me. And in that lane, provision was waiting, favor was waiting, resources were waiting. Because every destiny has its own timing, and every timing has its own supply. Chosen one wealth that is obtained out of timing must be maintained by stress, but wealth obtained in timing is maintained by grace. That is where God is leading you, into a place where increase flows naturally, because alignment is your lifestyle, where opportunities appear because obedience is your rhythm. where doors open because preparation is your pattern, where favor surrounds you because timing surrounds you. Anointed One. Your next breakthrough is not just about what God is sending, it's about who you are becoming in the process. And as your spirit continues to align with heaven's rhythm, you will begin to notice that the very things you once chased will start chasing you. That is the power of divine timing. Chosen One. As we move into this next dimension of revelation, I want you to feel the spiritual maturity that has been forming inside you. You are no longer simply learning principles, you are becoming the principle. You are no longer merely receiving truth, you are embodying truth. And in this stage, heaven desires to awaken you to one of the most powerful realities of kingdom wealth. True abundance is not achieved through force, but through flow, through surrender, not striving, through divine rhythm, not human pressure. And as you step deeper into this truth, you will begin to see that wealth is not something you chase, it is something you align with. Anointed One. I remember a season when I was doing everything I knew to do. I was working, planning, strategizing, pushing, yet nothing seemed to move. Doors stayed closed. Opportunities felt distant. It felt like I was pouring effort into a bottomless well. And in my frustration, I asked God, "What am I doing wrong?" The answer that came was gentle, yet it shook me to my core. "You're striving in your strength instead of flowing in mine." That sentence delivered me. It revealed that I had been approaching success as though it depended entirely on my effort, when in truth, God wanted me to partner with His leading instead of performing through pressure. And when I shifted from striving to flowing, the atmosphere of my life changed. Chosen One. The flow of God is not passive. It is intentional alignment. It is moving when God moves, pausing when God pauses, speaking when God speaks, and listening when God whispers. Flow means recognizing that your assignment is sacred and that heaven has already gone ahead of you to prepare every resource you need. When you flow, you no longer panic about timing because you trust the one who orchestrates it. When you flow, you no longer compete with others because you finally understand that what is for you cannot be taken from you. When you flow, you no longer cling to opportunities out of fear because you trust that God can open better ones effortlessly. Anointed One. Heaven needs you to understand this next truth. Supernatural wealth requires supernatural peace. Peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of divine order within you. It is the knowing that no matter what battles appear around you, God has already secured your outcome. The wealthiest seasons of my life were not the ones where I worked the hardest. They were the ones where I was most surrendered internally. When my heart was steady, opportunities multiplied. When my spirit was calm, I made wiser decisions. When my mind was clear, I recognized doors that anxiety would have blinded me to. And that is when I discovered something profound. Peace is a wealth magnet. Stress repels clarity. Anxiety repels opportunity. Panic repels wisdom. But peace attracts divine strategy. Peace aligns you with solutions. Peace positions you for breakthroughs you once thought required struggle. Chosen One. This is why the enemy battles your peace, not your job. Not your money, not your resources, your peace. Because if he steals your peace, he can sabotage your decisions. If he shakes your peace, he can distort your discernment. If he disrupts your peace, he can delay your destiny. But heaven is restoring peace to you, peace that surpasses understanding, peace that stabilizes your emotions, peace that quiets your spirit, so you can hear God clearly and move with purpose. And then the Spirit revealed another truth to me. Wealth requires clarity of assignment. You cannot prosper in an area God never called you to steward. You cannot flourish in a lane He never designed for you. Many times in my life I attempted things simply because I could not, because I was called. Ability is not assignment. Opportunity is not instruction. And not every open door is divine. When I started pouring my time, effort and resources into what God specifically called me to do, everything shifted. What once required force began to move naturally. What once felt uphill became effortless. What once drained me began to energize me. Why? Because assignment carries anointing, and anointing attracts abundance. Anointed. One, heaven is calling you to refine your focus, to release what is no longer aligned, to let go of the things you've outgrown, to stop scattering your energy in 100 directions and begin pouring it into the lane God designed uniquely for you. The blessing you've been praying for is not hidden. It is waiting in the lane of your assignment. Clarity brings acceleration. Assignment brings authority. And authority brings increase. Chosen one. There is one more truth in this dimension. Supernatural wealth requires supernatural courage. Courage to step out. Courage to let go. Courage to walk alone if necessary. Courage to obey even when you feel unqualified. Courage to believe that God can do through you what no one in your bloodline has ever seen. Courage is not loud. It is often quiet, steady, consistent. It is choosing alignment over approval, purpose over comfort, destiny over fear, and heaven is strengthening your courage now. The next season of your life will not be built on emotion, it will be built on conviction, not on fear, but on faith. And as you rise in courage, doors you thought were impossible will begin opening effortlessly before you. Chosen one. As we enter this final movement of the body content, I want you to feel the weight, the beauty, and the divine intention of everything heaven has been building inside you. You have traveled through revelation, conviction, alignment, pruning, elevation, identity, transformation, and spiritual restructuring. Every principle, every truth, every impartation has been preparing you for this final understanding. Wealth is not the destination, it is the assignment. It is the tool God places in the hands of those He trusts to carry out His purposes on earth. And now heaven is positioning you to walk in that assignment with clarity, humility, responsibility, and kingdom focus. Anointed one, you must understand that God never intended for wealth to be something His children chase. Wealth was always meant to be something His children steward. The world measures success by accumulation, but the kingdom measures success by alignment. The world measures prosperity by possessions, but the kingdom measures it by purpose fulfilled. The world teaches people to hoard, but the kingdom teaches people to build, to bless, to establish, and to multiply for generational impact. When this revelation became real to me, everything shifted. I stopped seeing wealth as a goal and started seeing it as a responsibility. I stopped seeing money as something to acquire and started seeing it as something to direct, to deploy, to assign to vision and legacy. Chosen one. The reason heaven is preparing you so intentionally is because your wealth has a mission attached to it. The resources God places in your hands are meant to strengthen your family, empower your calling, expand the kingdom, and break generational cycles. Your abundance is meant to silence the voice of lack in your lineage. Your stewardship is meant to open doors for those coming after you. Your discipline is meant to correct patterns that have existed for generations. You are carrying the breakthrough your ancestors prayed for but never saw. You are the fulfillment of prayers spoken long before you were born, and heaven expects you to handle that mantle with reverence. Anointed one, something God taught me that marked my soul was this: wealth that ends with you is a waste. God never blesses you for you alone. He blesses you for the generations tied to you. He blesses you for the people assigned to your voice. He blesses you for the kingdom work He has entrusted to your hands. And until you begin seeing your resources through that lens, you will always limit what God desires to release. But you are different. Heaven has been preparing your mind, healing your heart, strengthening your discipline, maturing your emotions, expanding your vision, and sharpening your discernment, because you will carry wealth the right way. You will carry it with the character to sustain it. You will carry it with the wisdom to multiply it. You will carry it with the humility to honor God with it. You will carry it with the courage to build what no one before you built. Chosen one, there is another layer to this wealth is meant to move. It flows. It circulates. It responds to movement. You cannot fear investing. You cannot fear building. You cannot fear expanding. You cannot fear taking divine risks. Faith will be required of you. Obedience will be required of you. But as you move, heaven will move with you. As you act, heaven will multiply your action. As you step, heaven will enlarge your territory. This is the divine partnership God has designed. And now, Anointed One, as this segment comes to a close, I want you to feel the truth settling within your spirit. You are ready. Not because you have mastered everything, but because you have surrendered everything. Not because you have perfect understanding, but because you have willing alignment. Not because you feel qualified, but because God has chosen you. And when God chooses someone, He equips them, prepares them, strengthens them, and positions them for impact. You are entering a season where everything you have learned will become everything you live. Heaven is establishing you. Heaven is endorsing you. Heaven is trusting you with more. Chosen one, stay open, stay yielded, stay aligned. The journey is not over, it is entering its next divine phase. Chosen one. As we close this sacred moment, let your spirit hold what heaven has released over you today. You are not leaving this video the same way you entered it. A divine shift has already begun. The ancient principles you've heard are not just lessons, they are activation. The supernatural transfer assigned to your life is already moving in your direction, settling into alignment with your obedience, your faith, and your surrender. Anointed One, this is your Kairos moment, your appointed time, and heaven is watching to see how you walk it out. May your mind stay clear, your heart stay pure, and your steps stay aligned with the God who gives you the power to create and steward wealth. I speak blessing, clarity, protection, and acceleration over everything concerning you. If this word stirred something in your spirit, share it, comment below, or stay connected, not for algorithms, but for alignment. Walk in your calling, chosen one. Your elevation has already begun.